We do a little different. Like we study the gospel, so it's more my way of learning, through questions. So maybe I throw some questions throughout here, and you guys are free to answer, or if you don't want to answer, don't answer. But that's the way we do on Mondays, so it's much easier for me than keep talking. I rather we all learn it together. So thank you for all being here. It's good to talk about the gospel. I am shy, but I love to talk about the gospel. I get excited, sometimes a little emotional, but I think we all connect in different ways. The study for this morning is from the Gospel according to Spiritism, called The Consoling Christ. And this is the chapter 6 that Kardec starts talking about the easy yoke. He uses the passage to start to talk about the Christ as the consoler, and that's the way it goes. Come unto me, all ye who suffer and who are overburdened, and I will comfort you. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, that I am gentle and humble of heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Matthew, versicle 11, from 28 to 30. So I like to understand sentence by sentence when we do the study. We always try to go through, so that's what we're gonna do today. Come unto me. So what we understand as come unto me, how this parable starts. Jesus, you can see, come unto me. He's inviting, all to come. And he even used the word unto, which comes from Old English, until, converted with to. So that's mean come, invite you to come. This happens when Jesus already, taught the apostles, and he starts to walk through the cities and inviting people to come to him. And he say, all you who suffer and who are overburdened. What do we understand for suffering or overburden? Like what we understand, because we all have different ways of suffering. Maybe what hurts me is not as bad for Fatima or for Bida. We all have different ways to deal with our problems and our dilemmas every day. But he invites all you who suffer. But you guys think he only invites the people who having problems, or he inviting everybody? Everybody. Okay, good. And why he specifies suffer and overburdened? Do you guys have an idea about it? Why even though he invites everyone?
Because suffer is not just in the body, but emotional, mental, this I think about.
Everybody who suffer is looking for an answer, right? At least when you realize that it's not working, we are suffering, things are not doing well, is the first step for us to look for answers. Because if we think everything is good, we are okay, we don't do much about it. So he specifies all of you suffering and overburden, because the person who needs the most is the one that goes for. So he already invited, say come. He didn't go to you, he invited, come to me, come unto. So come to me. So it's already an action. Leave the point that I am to go towards to something else. And who usually goes, I did this analogy here, like who goes to look for water? Who is thirsty?
Yeah.
If I'm okay, I don't think about drinking water. Most of us don't. But a lot of people that already know that drink water is good, drink water and celebrate like these two kids. They are having fun drinking water. So that means that we don't only looking for, Jesus when we are in need, but when we are good too. That's why he said all, because us, we are already here. Maybe some of us today is not in a great day, something. And other people here maybe is a little happier and good, but it's still coming to here, right? We are already here because we know it's good for us. That's the idea. But he also said, I will comfort you. Okay? But he didn't say, I will solve your problem, I will take your problem out of your life. He said, I will comfort you. So that means I console you. I will maybe help you, but it's up to us, right? To make the changes, to do different. So this comfort that he talks about is to find our consolation in faith. Faith in the future and trust in God's justice. That's what gives us hope. And he keeps saying in a parable, take my yoke upon you. This is a yoke for whoever doesn't know exactly what it is. It's this wooden bar that keep, the oxen together when they walk. And Jesus talked through parables because he needs to help people to understand back then on the conditions of daily living, the way live there. We are not ready to understand in a deeper meaning of anything. So he always used the things that was common to people back then to help them to understand. If you think most of the people that he talked to doesn't even know how to read or write back then. They need to learn from other people explanations. That's the way he talk through the parables. And the idea about the yoke is just to keep us together going on a straight line. Not on a straight line, but on the right way, the right path. But also, it's the observance of the gospel and its moral content applied to the practice of good living, love, and charity. One thing that I learned doing this study that for me was very interesting, it's the etymology of the word gospel, because we know that gospel comes, it's a translation in English to evangelium, which in Portuguese is evangelho. But the thing is, gospel comes from the word God, that comes from good, and spell together. And I thought that this was very interesting. Good spell. And make way more sense to me. I like the meaning of the words. Helps me a lot to understand things. So that's a good spell. Observance of the good spell, what is good for us. And what is in the gospel is the moral content. And why do we learn this moral content is to apply in our daily livings, because we can come here every week and learn and read, and then we have to apply, right? We have to start to use, because Jesus said that he would console us, but it's up to us to solve. So we needed to practice, and that's how we start, as Walter, we are the inner learning and transformation and putting in action. And I like this picture of this guy because that's also, he has a yoke on his back, but seems to me that he actually is smiling. I don't know if you guys see that. And I imagine myself with that, and it was like, oh my God, my neck hurts, my upper back hurts, everything hurts. But he knows that work gives him possibility to water, his soil and grow his food or making his living or be fed. And I like that idea that, the idea about, yes, the yoke can be light. And you can see like the positive way he sees. He doesn't see like this as a burden, as something that is awful, that is so difficult, so unfair. But he sees the light, he take with lightness as God, as Jesus promised us, because he knows, he already understands how good that can bring it in the future for him, the consequences of it. That's what I think Jesus meant when he said that would be light. His yoke is light, because we watch the laws, we practice for the good living. That's for David especially, who like to work in his garden. I think it's amazing work because he works so hard and he has so much pleasure. Reach out, David. So, but also Kardec bring on a chapter 6, he talks about the promised consoler. Jesus knew that even though he came and through his action and through his in teaching us, he gave us the way of life and learning and practice. Unfortunately, we were not ready yet to carry on. So his last time speaking to the disciples, to the apostles, he promised for the new consoler. He knew he would be no longer with us already. He was on the Mount of Oliveira, and he knew he will be no longer, because after that, he got arrested and persecuted and crucified. So he promised a new consoler. He knew that the work needed to be kept on, and that's what he said. If you love me, keep me my commandments, and I will pray to my Father, and he will send you another consoler, that he may remain with you forever. The Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it neither sees him nor knows him. But as for you, you know him, because he will remain with you and will be among you. But the consoler, who is the Holy Spirit, whom my Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and will enable you to remember everything that I have said to you. You found that in different passages, but that one specific is from John 14. And so he knew we couldn't go on. And the reason is because, like I said, we are not ready to get all the answers. And he promised a new consoler, and something that would come. And this new consoler would bring us, we wouldn't be able to see him, but we know him. And he talks about the Spirit of the truth, Spirit of truth. And that's we call the third revelation. So first we have the first revelation, which Moses brought to the justice. Then we had the second revelation, that Jesus come and spread his words of love through his action and forgiveness and understanding. And then another consoler is promised. Not just one consoler like Jesus was, but also another one that came later, the third revelation, the promised consoler. that would help us. And as we see today as our doctrine, the Spiritism, because through the Spiritism, and then Kardec explains that that's how we find, we can have now the spirits telling us what happens on a spiritual world, confirm us, giving us not the idea for our heart but also for our mind, the rational side, about now we know for a fact about the spiritual world, what happens when we no longer here, when we, for most of people say die, or like we say, we disincarnate, is because now we have the source and the faith that we talked at the beginning of in the future now. It's more guarantee, it's more giving us more sense to where we are going. We that study here the Spiritism, we know, some people know more or less, but we all know the reasons of our afflictions, why we go through what we go through. That's all depends on our actions, because that's gonna give us consequences. And now we understand when Jesus invites us why we have to take action, the action of transform, starting from within and then bring to outside, to the world. So that's make way more sense that why we are here. Now we can understand better. That's what the amazing doctrine, the Spiritism, bring to us, and is considered the promise consoler, because now we can find our answers. That's why it's so important for us to keep up with the studies and learn more and read more, so we can start to make these changes. But it's still in Jesus that we find our main console, our main comfort. That's why the gospel is so important for us, because the gospel, it's where we find already, our answers. I don't know if you guys notice, whoever have a chance to read or study the gospel according to the Spiritism, at the beginning, the first chapters until this one, the one before, Kardec put the way that the chapters he talk about like everything, how the world is, how was the beginning, and from that point on, from this chapter on, he gonna start to talk about like our attitudes, like how we can transform, how we can do things, because now from this chapter on, it's all up to us. And if you think about, the greatest commandments that, says like love God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. This is the base, this is the core of what we need to do in life, which is still hard, because it's much easier to love the ones that we sympathize, that has something common to us, than the most difficult ones, the ones that we don't agree with. But as we work in our inner transformation, that's the goal, that's the core of the love of Jesus. And if you think that Jesus also gave like a third commandment, saying a new commandment, saying love your neighbor like I have loved you. It's the key for us to try, because if you're thinking about someone in your life, because we all have someone in our life that we trust and we know we can go to, even if it's not present anymore in our lives, but we have had and we have like felt this love from this person, maybe a parent, someone that raised us, you know, or the love that we have for our children. But we have had this amazing love at some point in our life, that we felt safe, that we felt protected, that ensured us. So if we already know that, imagine the love that Jesus talked about, you know, this unconditional love, that it's so merciful, it's so understanding, and then bring it to an upper level, which is still hard for us to get, is the love from God. It's still hard to define God. We have God's definition in so many words, through so many religions, but we still not completely, it's still not part of our understanding what God really is. We have like whole sentence to say, you know, but it's still hard for us to really feel that kind of love. But we already have a lot of love that we already know. So we know how, we only give what we have. So if we already have this love that we have felt from someone else, we can give that love to other people. That, I think, is the idea about to understand and have this consoler that gonna help us in the moments of doubts, the moments of fear, the moments of that we are discouraged. It's the promised consoler now that we have in our in the Spiritism, but also we have had from Jesus. And I think that's what we have to search for, to dig it in, to look at on the moments that we don't know what to do. That is the promise, you know, that we have had for so many years, for 2,000 years. But until nowadays, it's still kind of hard to reach for in the moments of need. But also can be reached for not on the difficult times, but every day of our journey, because that was given to us. And if you think about the at the end of the parable that say like, you learn from me that I am gentle and humble of heart, and you find rest for your souls. That's the base, like that's impose charity and humility. And what is the key words for charity and humility? What? Devotion, abnegation, and resignation. Once we understand, we devote ourselves not to have not to have Jesus with us, but have Jesus within us. Like I don't know if you have, like, if everyone here had read, you know, Paul and Stephen, but Paul, I don't want to quote exactly because I read in Portuguese, so maybe I don't know how it's quoted in English. But Paul said, it's not it's not me that living in the Christ, but the Christ who now lives in me. That is our goal, to not have Jesus with us, but within us, through our actions, through what we do to one another. That's the idea. Abnegation, it's not that you have to forget ourselves and put up with everything. Don't take that. It's but be able to give and abnegate when it's necessary, to try to put ourselves in each other's shoes as brothers and sisters. The same one we do for someone that we love the most, do also for that person that we don't even know, or even for that person that give us hard time, that right now we cannot understand. But 2,000 years ago we couldn't understand much, right? Mm-hmm. And we have been now understanding a little bit more. So it's an endless journey. So more and more we're gonna understand things, and things gonna make sense and gonna be revealed to us and resignation. It's like, even though it's difficult, we know we can be done, we can overcome. And if you think like so many things in our lives that was so hard, I remember that it was hard for me to learn how to ride a bicycle, and I love to ride a bicycle. And so many things we have had in our life that we are able to overcome. And so, because we had a resignation, we accept what was given to us, and we took it like that guy, with the yoke. Probably his back hurts at the end of the day, but maybe the pain is not that hard for him because he knows what he gonna, get from that. He gonna be able to feed himself, to feed his family, help to feed others if he sells, whatever he plants. That's the idea. We are already here learning. We are already good disciples here because we are learning, we are trying to understand, we are trying to transform. But the invitation is to bring it to the next level and become apostles. Because once we learn, the idea about learn is to be able to give, right, to teach others. There is no difference between the student and the teacher, because the student today is the teacher tomorrow. The teacher just learn first, then the student, and then the students learn it enough, and as much as the teacher, and then pass forward. So the invitation is to find the comfort in Jesus and on the gospel, and is the learning, but also keep going strong and transform, but not transform just for ourselves, for our own good, but to the good of everybody else, since we are here on the same journey. Like we say in our studies, today we are the one we are walking forward, but we also, reach for the ones in the back and bring them along with us in our path. So that's the idea. So we can feel, hugged and loved and have this strength to keep going in our journey. That's pretty much it. I know you guys have questions on Sundays, right? Does anybody have questions or want to make a comment? Because that's the way it's on Monday, so don't need to be shy. Every question helps others to understand, so, or make some comments, Either they're gonna make any comments, you wanna add?
I have a comment if I may.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you go back to the John verses that were on there?
This one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Before I learned anything about Spiritism, I was part of the great Protestant majority that focuses on John 3:16, which is about Jesus and God giving Jesus as a gift to man. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son. And here, when I read this particular verse, it really emphasized to me of what I feel is the correctness of our doctrine within Spiritism, and that the gift of the Holy Spirit to the whole world is of the highest order, and I think they did a good job of
Okay. Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, it's I understand what you're talking about, because I've been in different religions. I was like every Brazilian, I was baptized, I did the first communion, all of that. But, as a kid, In my case, I was going more for the cookies at the end, honestly, than really paying attention.
Right.
I memorized what I had to memorize, and I would do my praise. But I confess, was in our doctrine, was through the Spiritism, that a lot of things starts to make sense to me. So to know I didn't even know the Promised Consoler. I always had Jesus as reference on my moments of need, during my pain and my difficulties. But now that I understand the Promised Consoler, that giving me, the Spiritism giving me the power of making change, because I know now, I understand, at least most of it, why certain things happen, but also giving me a lot of responsibility, because now I don't have anybody to blame. I cannot be sitting waiting for a miracle. So I have the power to make change, but I also have the responsibility, mainly being here and knowing all of that, to the doctrine, that it's up to me, really. So I really I'm very thankful for the Spiritism, for the Consoler. And you see how merciful God is, that He gave us not just one Consoler, they gave it two. He gave one that brought the idea of love and shared love, and then brought the Promised Consoler because He knew we would need it, and that's based on charity, which it's come from charité, which means also love. So it's love and love. So that's the base. But it's up to us to understand love and be able to love others. Go ahead.
As we evolve, I guess it was time for the Consoler to come in the early 1800s or 1850. Is there any indication as humans progress, there will be another Consoler coming? Because you're right, at that time, Jesus' message was in a relatively barbaric society. Now we're at a more advanced society, but what about 1,000 years from now? Is there any indication of another Consoler?
I personally don't know, but if you think about it, if it's a endless journey, and like you already said, we had Jesus 2,000 years, and then we came Kardec to codify, the doctrine, in the second half of 19th century. And then if you think about it, that now the 20th century, we had Chico Xavier in his psychographies, and having André Luiz talking about in details how the spiritual words, who knows if whatever gonna come in the future.
I think the Consoler already came, but it's up to us to be able to see it and understand it. Because as she said, so many messages are there, but we are the ones who still refuse to even believe in God. A lot of people don't even believe in God. Mm-hmm. So the messages are there in the air. Through our reincarnation process, with our evolution, spiritual evolution, we will be able to start seeing, if not in this life, in 1,000 years. We'll be able to see.
For me, it's so fascinating. The more we study, the more depth we get from this. When I understand the Consoler, our doctrine of being extremely consolation for us, because He takes out the veil of illusion that the materialism in our focus is here in the present lifetime. So more we understand our doctrine, the more consoled we feel, because we know where we are heading, our destiny, and how the gospel and Jesus are the light for us to help to get there. So for me, the consoler comes every day. When we think about it, wake up and I'm thankful for this day as a new opportunity to get this consolation. So for me, the consoler is life every day. It's arriving every day to everyone. The ones who has eyes to see, grasp it. And when we start really understanding, feeling this connection with Jesus, we become a consoler as a medium for the ones next to us. Because when we change our actions, when we act according to the gospel, to the laws, for so many people that is watching us, seeing our examples, that's the only gospel they read. So that becomes the consolers in their life as a hope. I want to align my life as well. So that's the way the consoler renew every day. That's the way I see.
That's reminding me on moral laws from the Spiritist book. I don't know the numbers, but I think it's around 826, 827. It's between 825 and 829 for sure. That is this question that Kardec asked to the spirits. So whatever came before Jesus was the answers was just intuition, something like that, was just intuition, and the spirits respond. The answers for life, for moral, the laws are in everywhere, in everything, but just depend where, like how we perceive it. And then the next question says something related to this, but I cannot quote for sure because I don't have that great memory, but it's around there. So it's for sure between 825 and 829. So you guys can maybe read that later. And I also would suggest you, because this is specifically chapter 6, we have 4 messages, that's like the spirit teaching part, and comes from the Spirit of Truth. And those I recommend you guys to read. They are pretty big to bring. We don't have enough time to go over all of them, but it's pretty much like what we should do, like at least what I actually like the last one, the number 8, that talks about devotion. In this case here in the book say devotion, self-denial, and that's when the last part of the message say the sentiment of duty fulfilled with provide resignation and rest for your spirit. The heart beats better, the soul becomes serene, and the body is no longer feeble, because the body suffers all the more depending on how deeply the spirit is struck. So if you already start to develop these feelings, the love and charity for one another, more that those feelings rise on us, more like better we become, not just in emotions, psychologically, but even physically. So that's like my invitation, that we keep working together, learning, but also practicing, and keep really in our journey. Okay?
This reminds me a passage, I don't remember which chapter in Our Daily Bread, but we worked on it because of those messages we put in the page. It says, very powerful, the door of heaven are wide open. They never have been closed. It means like they're there. The laws are there. The message you all have, we receive, like Peter said, we receive the message every day through a friend, to sing something that we read, something that we saw. But everybody will receive the message different. It's depending on in each level they are. Since God is always creating, and we have the spirit, they are advanced, they can grab more things. They're old, not mean the moral old, they hold us as spirits, but then it doesn't mean that they are moral in the same level as an existence as spirit. So it will take time for some, it will be best for others, but we all, the message is that we all gonna walk, we all gonna follow the path. It doesn't matter how long we're gonna take for each one of us, or we're gonna end up going in the same direction. And then sometimes the spirit needs some experiences to go through difficulties, to suffer, through difficult parts of their life for them to develop other features. We think sometimes that we already achieved all those things, but the book, we just read the book,
Between the heaven and earth.
and then their message that they said that sometimes we think in our level that we achieve the virtues, we achieve everything, but in a higher world, in a spiritual level, higher spiritual level, we don't understand yet so many other things that we need to develop. So for our intelligence that we have now, we grab things and we think we already achieved. So that's made us to understand others, the path, the choices, but we all go into the same directions. And the consoler is for all of us.
Thank you, Carla. Baruch, do you want to say anything? Do you want to add anything? Yeah. Okay, so the last thing just came into my mind, this when Paul was going through his difficult time in the book, Paul and Stephen, and he's in his desperation himself, just came to my mind this now. And whoever read know, like when Abigail, his fiancée, who's no longer was in this world, show up to him and say, like to him to not concern, just trust, work, like serve, love, and wait. So let's keep that in mind. Let's, trust in a better time, in a better world. Let's keep working, serving the best of our abilities. Definitely love, because that's is the key. And wait, because something better will come to us. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to leave this picture for us. Through the passes, you get the children for us. So now we are preparing for the second part of our meeting, the passes. Do you have any idea what that is? The experience? Okay, so thank you. So we can start while you're waiting the kids. We can start preparing ourselves, knowing this is the moment for us to meditate, connect with the good spirits present here. Because since the moment we entered this spiritual home, the good spirits started assisting us. So they know each of us, they know what we need. If you have anyone that is in trouble at home, it's a moment for us to think about them, because they will be as much as assisted as we are. If you know anybody that need prayers, that's also the moment we can think about them. And the good spirit is going to send all this wonderful vibration and energy to all of them. Okay, we ask the passistas to take place, please. And let's pray. Kind Heavenly Father, we are here today, ready to embrace the promised consoler, Help us in this passage we can let it go, any resistance, anything that keep us from connect with Jesus, to connect with your loss. Help us in this moment so we can soften our energy field and receive all the blessings with joy. And it can stay with us and help us to be more relaxed and more prepared for our life. Thank you, and so be it. Let's do our final prayer. Dear Father, we want to thank you for all the lessons, the good energy, and everything that we have today in our life. We have so many blessings that we are not even aware of. We thank you especially for the openness we feel, having the understanding about Spiritism and the value of our everyday in our incarnation. Help us, each of us, committed to understand more your laws, understand more this doctrine that is going to bring us to meditate and reflect. So if we are taking every opportunity we have to learn, to love, to serve, to trust, Help all of us in our commitment with our evolution, our inner transformation, and help us, especially in the moments of trials and turbulence. Help us to remember about Jesus and the lessons, the consolation He brings to us, understanding that every single day is a new opportunity for us to revisit our actions and take actions that's going to take us to a more peaceful life. We pray for everyone that is in our hearts, in our minds, in our home, and request the good spirit that send them the same loving vibration we are receiving here. And we ask, dear Lord, all this gratitude and thankfulness we feel in our hearts can reflect to our brothers and sisters that are in suffering, the people who are scared, and emanate them these blessings that we receive here abundantly every week. So we ask protection for us in our return home, and give an inspiration for us as this coming week, so we can take every opportunity we have to practice the laws that we learn here, the law of love, justice, and charity. And we thank you, God. Thank you, the good spirits. Thank you, Jesus. We pray. So be it. Okay, dear friends, we have very quick messages for you. We are very excited with this course that's happening and the new in English. So we have the Mediums study group in the morning and the spirits group about finishing. But we also have every second Wednesday and fourth Wednesday of the month the study of the book Missionary of Light. Is a wonderful book. Anyone is welcome. Is Wednesday 7:15. So anybody that want to bring a friend along or want to understand this spiritual life that we talk about, that's the perfect course to go. And we have a lovely party coming up on the 22nd of February. It is a hilly-billy party. It's going to be wonderful food, music, and most important, it's going to be a wonderful fraternization, because we are sharing this part with Cepha. This is another spirit center. So it's an opportunity for us to get more of the other groups. And we are selling tickets. It's only $5 just to reserve your seat, because the space is absolutely wonderful, but it's a limited space. So get your ticket. It's only $2 just for us to count ahead. It's going to have a wonderful food, okay?
Where is it?
It is in Miramar. I'll give you
Close to
the best way.
Flamingo Road.
All right.
Right there on top.
All right.
Right
First
there
one,
on top,
first
all
one.
the way to the top, right there.
Okay. That's the address. Okay. So it's in Miramar, 4050 Southwest 124. It is a residence, but it's huge. It's a ranch. So there is plenty of parking. It's beautiful, but it's limited. So get your ticket and help us. And of course, the seminar coming up on the 21st and 22nd, you don't want to miss. And we're going to have this time, Suzanne is going to be doing lectures in both days in English. So it will be wonderful. Okay? So have a wonderful, wonderful day. Enjoy Super Bowl, Super Bowl party and picnics. Be safe.
What time the Super Bowl starts?
I don't know. I'm not a Super Bowl. I think 6 o'clock. It's terrible. What time did it start? The Super Bowl?
6:30.
6:30.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. It's so hard to understand. A gente tem que eles vão ficar aqui quantos dias? Eles vão embora dia 27. Inclusive são permanentes. A vida deles é beleza.
Eu acabei de ver que a gente vai ser.
Queria ver o negócio.
Já tem bateria. Aqui tá bom. Aqui eu não tô vendo virar. Não tá virando isso. Não sei porquê. Acho que a bateria já foi. A bateria do iPad também foi. A bateria foi, acabou? Ah, então não adianta nada.
We can make fast in between.
A bateria aqui já foi. A bateria da câmera também foi. Mas
Eu estava assistindo agora um vídeo e ele falou que a linha entre a câmera e o iPad tem que estar bem livre.
alinhado?
Sorry, I can't say it for some reason. I'm going to get my
Então,
I haven't got it in my.
Tem que sentar aqui, pô. Dá pra trabalhar.
dá para levantar isso aqui, tá?
Ah, eu que manchei.
Então, deixando. Porque deixando esse negócio aqui, assim, ó, ele passa por cima das cabeças.
Aí você já percebe aí? Ah, você não dá pra ligar.
Não, entendeu? Mas aí o sinal fica mais rápido. Porque a demora é que a câmera não está vendo direito o iPad e o router. O router deve ser também. O router deve ser um router devagar, sabe? Slow, e aí demora para o sinal mudar.
Bom, não posso dizer nada. Que bom isso aí que você falou. Eu vou tentar na próxima vez.
Então, da próxima vez coloca isso mais alto assim, porque aí fica. E aí aqui dá pra você mudar. Aqui também dá.
Aqui tá quente. Não sei porque que tá tão quente.